In 2004, a team of Parisian police officers was running a routine training exercise in a section of tunnel that wasn't supposed to be accessible. In the darkness ahead, they heard dogs growling. It was a recording, played through a sound system that someone had installed specifically to frighten away intruders. Behind it, they found a cavern of more than 150 square meters with a full-sized cinema screen, professional projection equipment, a functioning bar, a restaurant, and electrical wiring connected to a power source that nobody has ever traced. When they came back 3 days later with more officers and equipment, everything was gone. The screen, the projector, the bar, the wiring, all of it removed without a trace in 72 hours from a tunnel system 5 stories underground. A police spokesman told the press, "We have no idea whatsoever who built this. That cinema has never been explained. The people who built it have never been identified. And this is not even close to the strangest thing about what is under Paris. Because under every street you've ever walked in that city, under every cafe, every museum, every monument, every apartment where people sleep tonight, there is another city. A city with no light, no air, no sound, just bones. 6 million of them. Here is the number that stops everyone cold. 6 million people are buried under Paris, not in a cemetery, not in a church, but under the streets themselves, 5 stories beneath the city, in 320 kilometers of tunnels that run under every neighborhood, every landmark, every inch of the most visited city on Earth. The part open to tourists is 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers out of 320. What's in the other 318, nobody officially knows. To understand how this happened, you need to go back to 1786, when Paris was rotting. The city's cemeteries had been full for decades. Bodies were piled on top of bodies. The soil was completely saturated. In the summer heat, the smell reached windows 3 streets away. Entire neighborhoods reported illness. Wells near cemeteries produced water that tasted wrong. The largest cemetery, Les Innocents, had been receiving bodies for 10 centuries. 10 centuries of the dead, stacked in the same ground, with nowhere left to go. The city made a decision. Move them. All of them. Into the old limestone quarries that already ran beneath the city. The same quarries that had provided the stone to build Paris in the first place. It took 12 years. Every night between 1786 and 1788, processions of carts moved through the streets of Paris after dark, carrying bones from the overflowing cemeteries to the underground. Priests walked alongside, performing rites by torchlight. The operation was carried out exclusively at night so that Parisians wouldn't see what was happening beneath their city. By the end, 6 million people had been moved underground. Imagine being one of the workers assigned to that transfer. You are descending into the quarries every night, carrying bones by torchlight, in tunnels that stretch further than you can see. The walls are limestone. The air is cold and still. The same temperature winter and summer, 13 degrees Celsius, never changing. The sound of the city above you disappears completely within minutes of descent. The only sound is your own breathing, your footsteps, and the quiet movement of bones that once belonged to people who walked those same streets above you. You do this every night for 12 years. The official catacombs, the part with the guided tour and the ticket booth and the souvenir shop, tell you one story. They show you the ossuaire, the decorated walls of bones, the skulls arranged in patterns, the carefully organized femurs stacked like firewood. It's macabre, it's theatrical, and it's designed to be seen. But that's not the real story of what's under Paris. The real story is the other 318 kilometers. The tunnels that don't appear on any official map, the galleries that the city has been trying to seal for decades and failing, the sections explored by exactly 2 categories of people, the police and the Cataphiles. The Parisians who enter the illegal tunnels every week through manholes, through the basements of bars, through church crypts, through the cellar of the Tour Montparnasse. Estimates suggest 300 people descend illegally every single week. The government can only seal the entrances it knows about. What they find down there goes far beyond bones. Sculptures carved directly into the limestone walls. Murals painted by artists who spent weeks underground. A room called La Plage, with sand imported and spread across the floor, and hokusai waves painted across the walls. a room called the Hall of Anubis, with a stone table chiseled out of the rock. And that cinema, built and dismantled in 72 hours by people who have never been caught, in tunnels that the police still don't fully control. But the cinema isn't the most disturbing thing that ever happened in those tunnels. That belongs to a man named Philibert Aspairt, who descended on November the 3rd, 1793, and whose body wasn't found until 11 years later, less than 100 meters from the exit. And he is far from the only one. Philibert Aspairt was a doorkeeper at the Val-de-Grâce Hospital in Paris. On November the 3rd, 1793, during the height of the French Revolution, he descended into the tunnels beneath the hospital with one candle. According to legend, he was looking for a hidden cache of liquor stored by monks before the revolution. He was never seen alive again. 11 years later, in 1804, his body was found in the tunnels. His keys were still on him. That's how they identified him. He had no injuries, no signs of violence. His candle had simply burned out. And when they found him, he was less than 100 meters from an exit. Close enough that someone standing at that exit and shouting might have been heard. He had walked in circles in total darkness for hours or days, without knowing that safety was within reach, until he couldn't walk anymore. His tomb is still there. The Cataphiles maintain it. Every year on the anniversary of his disappearance, they gather underground to mark the date. He is considered, in the underground community, the first Cataphile, the patron saint of people who descend into the dark. But Aspairt is not the only one. In the early 2000s, a camera was found abandoned in a remote section of the tunnels. The footage showed a man descending alone, filming his own exploration. In the first minutes he is calm, almost cheerful, pointing his camera at the walls, at the bones, at the darkness ahead. Then something changes. He starts moving faster. He stops, recognizing the tunnels around him. His breathing becomes audible on the recording. He starts running. The footage ends abruptly, mid-movement, as if the camera simply fell. No one knows who this man was. No one knows what happened to him. The footage was aired on several European television channels and studied frame by people looking for clues, markings on the walls, sounds in the background, anything that might indicate where he was or what he found. Nothing conclusive was ever determined. The man in the video has never been identified. Now consider what this means physically. 320 kilometers of tunnels, 5 stories underground, with no phone signal, no GPS, no landmarks that repeat consistently, and maps that are at best approximate. Experienced cataphiles describe the experience of becoming lost underground as something that happens faster than you expect, because the tunnels look identical, because your sense of direction stops working without light from above, and because sound behaves differently underground, bouncing off limestone walls in ways that make footsteps seem to come from directions they're not. The city of Paris has an official unit, the Inspection Générale des Carrières, specifically dedicated to monitoring the tunnels. They have been doing this since 1777. And still, in 2024, sections of tunnel are being discovered that weren't on any existing map. During World War II, both sides used the catacombs simultaneously, without knowing it. The French resistance established command posts and communication networks in the tunnels beneath occupied Paris, running operations against the German forces above ground. At the same time, the German military had carved out their own bunker beneath the Jardin du Luxembourg, a fully equipped command center with communications equipment, running electricity, and reinforced walls. 2 armies operating in the same underground network, separated only by limestone walls between tunnels, neither fully aware of what the other was doing directly beneath their feet. The resistance fighters and the German officers hunting them were sometimes, according to historians, within meters of each other underground, moving through the same darkness toward different exits. That bunker still exists. It hasn't been officially opened or studied in decades. Whatever is inside it, documents, equipment, personal effects left behind when the Germans retreated in 1944, is still there in the dark. 5 stories under a public garden where Parisians eat lunch on sunny afternoons. And the bunker is only one of the things in those tunnels that nobody has gone back to examine. Which raises the question that nobody in an official capacity seems to want to answer directly. If 318 kilometers of tunnel haven't been fully mapped after 250 years of trying, and if people are still finding new sections, and if things are being built and dismantled underground without anyone being caught, then who right now is actually in control of what happens under Paris? Here is the thing that changes everything about how you see this city. Paris was not built on top of the catacombs. Paris was built out of them. The limestone quarries came first. The stone pulled from those tunnels built the city above. Notre Dame, the Louvre, the walls of the old city, all of it built from stone extracted from the ground beneath it. The holes left behind became the catacombs. Paris didn't grow on top of a void. Paris created the void, filled it with its dead, and then lost control of it entirely. Paris is not a city with catacombs under it. Paris is catacombs with a city on top. The Inspection Générale des Carrières has monitored these tunnels since 1777. Nearly 250 years of continuous professional inspection. And the map is still incomplete. New sections are still being found. The cinema was built and dismantled without anyone being caught. The Nazi bunker sits untouched. The man on the found footage has never been identified. Every week, 300 people descend through manholes into 318 kilometers of tunnel with no emergency services, no phone signal, and no complete map. Aspairt went in with one candle, died less than 100 meters from safety. The man on the footage went in with a camera. The footage ends mid-frame. The people who built the cinema carried projection equipment 5 stories underground, built a functioning theater, and vanished without a trace. These are not legends. These are documented facts. Official police reports. Verified cases with no resolution. Paris is called the City of Light. The light is real. The city above is beautiful, luminous, worth every photograph ever taken of it. And 5 stories beneath that light, in permanent darkness at 13 degrees Celsius, 6 million people are waiting. In 320 kilometers of tunnels that no one has fully mapped, that no one fully controls, and that no one in 250 years has completely understood. The City of Light was built from a hole in the ground, and that hole is still there, unchanged, patient, waiting for whoever comes next. Tell me in the comments, do you think the unmapped sections hide something the authorities already know about and won't disclose? Or do you think the real secrets are still waiting in tunnels nobody has walked in centuries? Or is the most terrifying thing simply that a city of 2 million people sits on top of something nobody fully controls? Your honest answer. Because I read every single one. Subscribe if you want to keep going deeper. Every week we open a file that history left closed. See you in the deep.